has an L added to the beginning of its name. That's meant to designate their attachment to Lucy. And now we're going to hear from the Deputy Principal Investigator for the Lucy mission. She is standing by with NASA's Megan Cruz at the nearby Operations Support Building 2. That's our launch viewing location. Megan, how's it going over there?
Hey, Marie, things are looking really great, and it just got better now that I'm joined with Kathy Olkin. Kathy, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Lucy is a very ambitious mission. Where did the idea for Lucy come about?
The idea for Lucy was really to explore the Trojan asteroids. The scientific community has been wanting to see these objects up close for a long time, and so we finally have a mission that's almost on its way.
Yeah, this is really exciting, and I mean, the goal is to study how the outer planets formed, but why is that important for us to understand?
Yeah, it's really important to understand solar system formation, to understand where we came from and how our solar system works. It used to be that we had a vision that the solar system was a very calm environment and that everything was very stable. But really, our recent ideas are that it's not like that at all. It had been very chaotic in the early solar system history, and that caused small bodies in the solar system, many to be ejected out of the solar system, and a small fraction to be captured in the Trojan asteroids.
Gotcha. And it's going to take a very complex trajectory, right, to get to these Trojan asteroids. I imagine that must have been really difficult to plot out 4 billion miles over 12 years.
It really was. It took the whole team to be able to make this amazing trajectory that really enables the mission. On the science side, we started with a list of objects that we wanted to compare against each other. And then we handed that off to the mission designers, and they ran with it, and they found an amazing trajectory. And then the people who optimized the trajectory did their work. And so it's really effort from the whole team that got us this awesome trajectory.
Perfect. And a quick last question, why 8 asteroids? That's a record-breaking number.
It is a record-breaking number, and we really needed to go by 8 asteroids to really explore the diversity of these objects. There's more red and less red. There's smaller and larger objects. There's objects that we're going to be visiting that are remnants from a giant collision, and also a primitive pair, a binary pair that orbits each other. So in order to make all those comparisons, we needed to go past 8 asteroids.
Kathy, thank you so much. It sounds so exciting, and honestly, we're so lucky because the weather looks so great right now, right, Daryl?
Right, Megan, the weather is cooperating wonderfully. You can't see it because it's dark out,
right.
But we've got great weather. Had a little bit of rain coming in.
Mm-hmm. Just a little sprinkle.
Just a little sprinkle, but it looks clear overall. Let's take a look out at the live shot of our pad and the rocket, and you can see there it is, looking beautiful in the light. Just a note for you, in the upper left-hand corner, there's the L- time, L-19 minutes and counting. Across the bottom, the progress bar, you see we are in a T-4 hold. More on that in a bit. But we're talking weather now, as you can see, clear through the dark. This is so that ground teams and launch teams can see what's going on with that illuminated pad and monitor what's happening around the rocket. Let's talk more about the weather. And yeah, we had a little bit of rain earlier, Will Ulrich, our launch weather officer, but overall this is looking fantastic from a forecast perspective.
That's right, Daryl. Really, all things considered, we couldn't be asking for better weather early this morning. The sprinkles that you mentioned have since cleared the area, and now all we're left with is partly cloudy skies and light winds, thanks in part to an area of high pressure that remains dominating over the southeastern United States. A live look at satellite imagery behind me shows those mostly clear skies across much of the state, and that's going to make for a great viewing opportunity, regardless of whether you're watching in Jacksonville, Tampa, Orlando, or locally right here in the Space Coast. My colleague Jessica Williams just gave her final weather brief at L-30 minutes to United Launch Alliance, Eastern Range, and NASA officials, and gave a greater than 90% go for weather, so we are not tracking any issues at this time. As a reminder, my colleagues and I are here to ensure that the weather is safe for launch, and we do that through the evaluation of 10 lightning launch commit criteria, which are designed to protect against both rocket-triggered and natural lightning. In addition, we also monitor user weather constraints like surface wind speed and precipitation. And while things are looking really good for launch this morning, should we need to utilize tomorrow's backup window, we do anticipate conditions deteriorating as we see a cold front move through the region. But let's not worry about that right now because conditions are looking great. Mother Nature is giving her thumbs up, and I'm happy to report that the 45th Weather Squadron is go for weather. Daryl?
Great update about the weather outside. Thank you, Will. We are currently L minus 17 minutes and counting until liftoff. Asteroids are prehistoric treasures that hold the lost stories about our origin of the solar system. Here's what else you need to know about Trojan asteroids. This mission is such an incredible opportunity and one of the many missions aimed at asteroid research right now. Let's head back out to NASA's Megan Cruz, who is with the head of NASA science missions. Megan.
I am Daryl. Joining us right now is Dr. Thomas Zurbuchen. He's the Associate Administrator for NASA's Science Mission Directorate. Good to have you here this morning.
I'm so glad to be here. What an exciting morning.
It is, and I'm so glad you're here because I got to ask you a question. You know, first off, tell me a little bit about the Science Mission Directorate. What's the goal there?
Well, so we're the organization at NASA that does all science, you know, and it, of course, is planetary science, just like we're launching today. It's also astrophysics. I just got a picture of the James Webb Space Telescope that in the crate there in Kourou getting ready for launch, and then...
Yes, have you got something to say first?
Well, I have, of course. Thank you very much. We're all struggling to come to the terms... Let me start again. We're all struggling to come to terms with the fact that David Amos has been so cruelly taken away from all of us. Less than 24 hours ago, David was in his own constituency doing a local advice surgery, which is something that all MPs do, week in, week out. And of course, David, as I knew him and as we all knew him, was just a passionate advocate and a champion for Southend, this wonderful, wonderful town. And with that, of course, he was a man of the people. He was absolutely there for everyone. He was a much-loved parliamentarian. To me, he was a dear and loyal friend. But also, he was a devoted husband and father. And we think of Julia and their children.
notify us at one side of the JDMTA command site.
Hey, so let's go ahead and we're going to step away from that for now, and we're going to, obviously there's something developing there. We were expecting to get that poll, and so we want to be respectful of what's happening there. The technical data, we're not sure that that's going to be approved for release, so obviously we'll be standing by to pay attention to that and give you updates as we understand more, but do want to kind of get back on track with talking about the, we are hearing that we think Omar is going to pick up with this poll. Coming up now.
NASA CE, go.
SMA?
SMA, go.
SMD?
SMD, go.
NASA Mission Manager?
NASA Mission Manager, go.
LSP?
LSP is go.
Copy that. The NASA team's ready to release the hold at T-minus 4 minutes.
Yeah, so Joshua, what we heard there from NASA Launch Manager Omar Baez is he was basically just briefing his NASA team and spacecraft customer of an issue that the team, that the range had notified them of one of their downrange assets. It looks like it was partially mission capable today. The team accepted that, and they are ready to move forward, as you heard in the poll, that all systems are go for the NASA side. And we'll be picking that up as launch conductor Scott Barney does his poll here in a little bit.
Yeah, always a lot of things in play. We will continue to track that. Again, a great sign that the team was able to work through that and approve to move forward. So we'll be back in a few minutes bringing you the final steps of the countdown and a report up as we transition Lucy into internal power. But for now, Daryl, back to you.
All right, thank you, Joshua and Mick. Lucy is going to visit as many asteroids in the faraway belt of Jupiter as we've ever discovered for near-Earth asteroids. And to get there, Lucy will need the right rocket and the right trajectory to carry out this historic mission. We headed out to ULA's Vertical Integration Facility, where inside we were awestruck after walking onto a platform 18 stories above the ground, because just a few feet away was the Lucy spacecraft, inside its protective fairing and on top of an Atlas V rocket. ULA was making final preparations to roll this entire launch vehicle out of the vertical hangar we were in and onto the launch pad. Jermaine Oliver, good to see you, my man.
You too.
Hey, thanks for coming out here and telling us about this flight trajectory and all the fun facts about Lucy going up into space.
It's my pleasure.
So, Jermaine, you are a flight design analyst with Launch Services Program. You know this flight pretty well. Tell me first about why we're launching at this specific time of year.
We're trying to rendezvous with two different sets of asteroids that are on the Jupiter line, Jupiter orbit. So in order to do that, you have to launch at a particular time to line up where the asteroids are going to be at, because if you don't, you'll either get there too early or get there too late.
Can you believe how close we're standing here next to the spacecraft?
I've never been this close before. This is great.
Let me ask you about this fairing. What's its purpose?
The fairing purpose is to encapsulate the satellite throughout the time it's going through the atmosphere until it gets into space.
So let's talk a little bit about the orbit. So this spacecraft is going out 530 million miles away from the sun. That's far, and it takes a careful orbit to get there.
Yes, what happens is you have to use Earth gravity assist to slingshot yourself to each of the different asteroid Trojans.
So Lucy weighs about the same weight as a mid-sized vehicle, 3,400 pounds or so.
Yeah.
So it's pretty heavy. What kind of thrust does this rocket need to get it up off the ground and into space?
Max thrust on this particular rocket is about 930,000 pounds of thrust, and to get Lucy on a trajectory that's going about maybe 27,000, 28,000 miles per hour.
Tell me about this rocket configuration, the Atlas 401.
It's just a 4-meter fairing that works great for this mission because given the spacecraft's weight, about 1,500 kilograms, and where it's going, the energy that it's going to, this particular rocket fits perfectly with it.
I'm really excited about the journey as it begins right here, right now, with this entire rocket and spacecraft rolling out to the pad. That's pretty cool.
Yes, it is. I've never seen it before, actually. I'm excited to see how this goes today.
You want to jump on and ride with the MLP?
Oh, no, thank you. I'm fine.
You don't pass on that?
I'm okay.
Okay. Oh, look there. It's moving. Check it out. Wow. Well, Lucy's journey has begun. Isn't it amazing?
Yes, it is. Lucy's on her way.
Jermaine Oliver with Launch Services Program. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it was a pleasure being here. Thank you for having me.
And as that rolled out, we had to take some pictures and even a selfie, because you know what? I feel like we're the last people to be that close to that spacecraft going so far away.
Yeah. I mean, and few people get to be at the base of the pad. Even fewer get to be inside the VIF, especially at that moment of rollout. So that was a really cool opportunity
awesome.
that you had. All right, we are inside of L-8 minutes and coming up on the launch conductor poll shortly. So we want to hand it over to Joshua and Mick to take us the rest of the way through the countdown. Joshua?
Hey, thanks, Marie. I would love to say that rocketry is a team sport, and that's what we're going to get to kind of hear with this launch conductor poll in just a minute. 4 major teams at play this morning. NASA Launch Services Program responsible for the launch. United Launch Alliance providing the vehicle, the ride to space. We have the Southwest Research Institute, the NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, and Lockheed Martin, part of the spacecraft team, and then the Space Force.
Yeah, Joshua, we're very happy to have Space Force here as they protect the range and look at the weather. They're also responsible for vehicle and personnel safety today.
Status check to proceed with terminal count. Atlas systems, propulsion. Go. Hydraulics. Go. Pneumatics. Go. LO2. Go. Water. Go. Sensor systems, propulsion.
Behind.
Go. Pneumatics. Go. LO2. Go. LH2. Go. HASGAS. Go. Electrical systems, airborne. Go. Ground. Go. Facility. Go. RFFTS. Go. Flight control. Go. GCQ. Go. Operations support. Go. COM. Go. Umbilicals. Go. ECS. Go. Red line monitor. Go. Quality. Go. Ops safety manager. Go. ULA safety officer. Go. Vehicle system engineer. Go. Anomaly chief. Go. Range coordinator.
Clear to proceed.
Launch director.
You have permission to launch.
Proceeding with the count. ALC. Verify T0 is set for 0934 Zulu.
Verified.
So Joshua, a very successful poll there by launch conductor Scott Barney. As you also heard, we verified that T0 is set for 0934 Zulu time. That's 534 local. Very happy to hear everybody green and go, and in particular, our friends at the range there, our Space Force friends, gave a clear for the range today. That's awesome. They're doing their job not only with weather but the safety. We also heard a little earlier in the count this morning that the range reported there are no COLAs this morning, which are collision avoidance assessments. So we are good for our first initial part of the launch window this morning, 5:34.
All steps are complete prior to terminal count.
Yeah, big thanks to the Space Launch Delta 45 folks for all their support. So looking ahead to terminal count, we just heard the call that the spacecraft is configured for flight. That includes being transitioned to internal power. And then, like I mentioned before, the next few steps are all about getting the launch vehicle and the spacecraft able to live on their own. So those are the things coming up here. We do have this release of the built-in hold. The eagle-eyed viewers that can see behind us might have noticed that there's a clock sitting at T-4 minutes and holding. That's been that way for our entire show so far. That will then sync up with our L clock you see on screen at this moment, and those will count towards 0 together. Again, everything looking great for liftoff on time here at 5:34.
Yeah, Joshua, as we come out of this hold, what's very impressive this morning is this Atlas 401. We heard Jarmaine talk about it. It's a 401 configuration, a 4-meter fairing, 0 solids on it, and 1 single Centaur engine on the second stage. This is a great configuration for the Lucy mission. It is the most common flown configuration by United Launch Alliance, and this will be the 89th Atlas V launching, so we're very proud of that.
2, 1, mark.
And there we go. The clocks are released, so we are ticking down here towards liftoff.
Ground pyros enabled.
Yeah, we'll hear the team securing a lot of their things, getting their final configurations in place, and making sure the rocket is ready for a T0 liftoff this morning. So the team will be working very quickly.
Yeah, and opposed to the missions that we might be used to with where we're hitting a low Earth orbit trajectory, this one is going into deep space, and so we'll be exceeding escape velocity of Earth this morning. So that's up and over 25,000 miles per hour. We know that over the course of Lucy's mission, she will get up to about 400,000 miles per hour. So very, very fast with all those Earth gravity assists. And for those that are in the physical area, you'll also notice that this rocket will take a little bit more of a southern track than we're typically used to seeing. We usually see rockets take off more towards the northeast. This one will move a little bit more towards the southeast than is typical.
Yeah, and with that southerly trajectory, people ought to be able to see some great things with the weather the way it is today.
3 minutes.
Alice tanks to flight pressure.
Securing LO2 topping. 250.
FTS internal.
So there we heard the teams securing the topping and bringing the Atlas tanks to flight pressure. That's a huge milestone as we get ready for T0 this morning. The teams have finished putting LOX and hydrogen on board and making sure that all that 740,000 pounds of fuel is there for liftoff of Lucy. We also heard that the team brought in the flight termination system arm. That is part of the range safety that is needed for the vehicle as we lift off this morning.
Yeah, previewing what's to come ahead, so stay with us after liftoff. We'll be tracking with a couple burns of the Centaur, spacecraft separation, those beautiful solar arrays deploying, and then signal acquisition of signal will kind of be the end of our show for you today, beginning a 12-year, 4 billion-mile journey for Lucy.
Absolutely.
159.
Vehicle internal.
155.
Launch sequencer start.
150.
Securing Centaur LH2.
Securing Centaur LO2.
140.
Launch enabled.
137.
FTS armed.
90 seconds to go.
$120.
OCU's armed.
SCS count started.
$110.
Vent valves locked.
$1 minute.
Rock, report range status.
Range green.
All right, so stay with us again after liftoff. We'll also have the voice chiming in from Rob Kesselman from ULA. He'll be providing the launch vehicle ascent data.
$40.
Stable at step 3.
So that's a great sign right there, stable at step 3. Everything is at flight pressures. Or now the only thing left, Joshua, is that final status check with the whole team.
25 seconds.
Status check.
Go Atlas.
Go Centaur. Go Lucy.
Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. Atlas V takes flight, sending Lucy to uncover the fossils of our solar system.
Tower clear. RD-180 propellant utilization has gone to closed loop control. The vehicle has begun the pitch yaw roll maneuver. Now, 30 seconds into flight, vehicle is 0.6 miles in altitude, traveling at 939 miles per hour. RD-180 performance continues to look good at this time. Engine pump speeds and injector pressures are in family for this thrust level. Atlas vehicle attitude remains stable at this time. Attitude rates near zero in all axes. Now at T plus 70 seconds into flight, vehicle is 4 miles in altitude, 0.2 miles downrange distance, traveling at 1,200 miles per hour. Mach 1, Atlas is now supersonic. Vehicle is now passing through max Q, maximum dynamic pressure. The vehicle is now throttling down slightly. RD-180 engine parameters continue to look nominal after their prior adjustment to the thrust level. Approximately 2 minutes remain in the Atlas booster phase of flight. The Atlas V rocket weighs now just 1/2 of what it did at launch, burning propellant at a rate of 2,600 pounds per second. Vehicle is now executing closed-loop steering. Centaur 5 Centaur reaction control system is now pressurizing the flight levels.
So beautiful launch sequence there. We do have another minute and a half or so to go with the booster in operation, getting Lucy.
We're now just under 3 minutes into flight. Atlas is 33 miles in altitude, 59 miles downrange distance, traveling at 5,600 miles per hour.
So Lucy being lifted up out of the atmosphere by the booster, getting on its way into a park orbit before we get towards...
All first stage vehicle systems are operating as expected at this time.
Future portions of the launch activity, we have the Centaur multiple burns ahead and spacecraft separation.
Yeah, the big milestone we should see, Josh, coming up is booster engine cutoff, which would be the first stage cutoff and then stage
The main
separation.
engine is now throttling to maintain a constant 5G acceleration limit.
We're going to see a few things happen pretty rapidly. The booster will cut off just after 4 minutes, and then within the next 15 seconds after that, we should see the Atlas separate from the Centaur, and then the Centaur engine ignite for its first burn.
Centaur has begun the boost phase chill down sequence, and the RD-180 is now throttling to maintain a constant 4.6 G acceleration limit. Boost phase chill down sequence has completed, and we have BECO, booster engine cutoff, and a successful stage separation event.
So what you're seeing on screen is an animation that's being driven by actual telemetry
Please
data.
on the RL-10.
So we are watching these things in an animation happen here, but they're happening in real time as well.
And Nest 1, we have ignition for the first burn.
All right, so there we go. We should see the fairing jettison here.
We have indication of good payload fairing jettison.
And there we go. All right, Nick, so that wraps up the first round of major milestones here. Still very much in the middle of dynamic flight.
The TU system on the RL-10 is now in an open-loop burn-off mode to burn off excess fuel in the early portion of this burn.
So walk us quickly through, Mick. What are we looking for in this burn and the next one?
So this burn is going to end with MECO getting Centaur and Lucy into its park orbit around Earth. And then we will then get into MESS 2, which will get us into that transfer orbit, getting Lucy on its way.
Awesome. So that's going to do it for now. Finishing up the initial launch activities, everything sounding like it's going perfectly. Daryl, back to you.
Thank you, Joshua and Mick. A beautiful launch out here from our vantage point. Incredible. All right. Lucy was built at the Lockheed Martin facility in Colorado before arriving at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station for launch. Engineers at Lockheed's Waterton facility use lessons learned from prior spacecraft like New Horizons and OSIRIS-REx to build Lucy.
And in July, Lucy was packed up and flown on board a United States Air Force C-17 cargo plane from Colorado to the Launch and Landing Facility runway at the Kennedy Space Center. From there, Lucy was transported to an Astrotech Space Operations Processing Facility in nearby Titusville for final preparations before liftoff.
Yeah, just a few miles from here before it was brought to the pad. For more about how Lucy was built, let's send it over to NASA's Megan Cruz.
Hey, Daryl. Yeah, right now I'm joined by Ari Vogel. He's the Deep Space Exploration Director at Lockheed Martin Space. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks so much for having me.
Wasn't that just a beautiful launch? What did you think about that?
Incredible. You know, seeing it go over the clouds and brighten up the whole sky was just fantastic.
Yeah, to see it rise over the clouds, because, you know, we lost it a little bit because of some cloud coverage, but then it just rose out of it. It was so beautiful. And, you know, I really wanted to talk to you because your team at Lockheed Martin Space knew that you were going into a project that would require you to develop a spacecraft that would travel farther than any other solar-powered spacecraft ever. I mean, was that intimidating?
You know, it was a really exciting challenge to solve, right? And obviously, the most prominent feature of Lucy is their big solar arrays. Each one is about the length of a bus. And, you know, what we did is we basically just broke the problem down into smaller pieces and then applied systems thinking to make sure that the design trades we were doing didn't impact, or that we fully understood the impacts for over the 12-year mission. So, you know, being the farthest solar-powered spacecraft is certainly something that was difficult to prepare for, as is going to a record 8 asteroids in one mission. But that's why we have such a comprehensive Test Like You Fly program at Lockheed Martin, and we took it through the ringer at our facility in Denver.
Yeah, and you did it all within 14 months. That's during a pandemic. That's incredible. Can you talk to me about the challenges of that?
Yeah, you know, it's really awe-inspiring. I mean, to be able to build a one-of-a-kind spacecraft during normal circumstances is incredible. And the team just really pulled together, didn't miss a beat, connected and collaborated, you know, made sure that we didn't have any mistakes. And it really accelerated some of our digital transformation initiatives too, having to work during the